Organizations are now pushed to make certain decisions really fast, where the traditional structures and the cultures and ways of working are not up to mark. So these traditional structures and cultures need to be challenged. Agile actually will highlight the challenges that organizations face, tell the organizations, hey, y'all really need to rethink the way that y'all are working.
Agile is, to me, it's a set of values. There are a lot of practices within the umbrella of Agile, right? Design thinking, DevSecOps, generative AI comes. It comes with a lot of new practices, ethical and legal aspects around this, and we have to develop new practices. But the core values behind Agile is individuals and interactions over processes and tools.
From a telco perspective, telcos are expected to embrace technology faster than anybody else because we are the enablers of all of the other companies as well as the individuals. So all of these new technologies that have come up like the 5G, the cloudification, IoT, AI as well. So otherwise we embrace those technologies and we support the enablement of the technologies for other companies. Definitely we lose out in the competition.
Hi everyone. In an era of economic volatility, talent migration, and rapid technological changes, businesses face unprecedented challenges. Today, joining me are three Agile practitioners who will tell us how Agile methodologies help these businesses overcome these challenges. Joining me is Rumesh Wijetunge, Director and Co-founder of Business Agility TuneUp. Welcome, Rumesh.
Thank you.
Ishari Siriwardane, General Manager, Digital Transformation Projects for Sri Lanka Telecom. Hi, Ishari.
Hi.
And Mr. Nilantha Wijayanatha, Vice President of Engineering Excellence at IFS. Welcome.
Welcome. Hi.
I'm going to start off with a general question to all three of you. Look, it's been quite a few years of economic and technological volatility. Doesn't seem that it's going to ease up, particularly the technological aspect of it. How can businesses use Agile methodologies to overcome these, or at least to adapt to these?
Yeah, so Imran, if you actually look at it, the industries have gone through multiple revolutions and we are now in the software era, the technology era. The technology era started somewhere around 1970s when the computer was born, and it has evolved. Web technologies, mobile technologies, and all these technologies have come into the picture. But now we are living in a world where we are talking about big data, Internet of Things, right? And then the latest trend is artificial intelligence, AI, generative AI. With all these technological evolutions happening, organizations are also now sort of pushed to make certain decisions really fast, where the traditional structures and the cultures and ways of working are not really working, not up to mark. So these traditional structures and cultures need to be challenged. And that's exactly what Agile does. Agile actually will highlight the challenges that organizations face and tell the organizations, hey, y'all really need to rewire or rethink the way that y'all are working. Yeah, so that's how Agile can actually help in this technological era.
How are you rewiring things at IFS?
IFS itself is going through a transformation over a few years. And as Rumesh said, the industry itself is going through a massive transformation with generative AI and also the economic volatility. We have to find the best ways to address these challenges created by these business volatilities and the changing landscape of the technological industry in a way that they can respond to these changes very swiftly and so on. So we are providing them with these solutions which are capable of addressing these changes in a very swift manner. So we have to deliver faster to the solutions to our customers, and also we have to adapt ourselves. The agile practices is the solution, as Rumesh said, to changing requirements, changing technologies, and demands for skills. Is a solution lies in agile, so we can respond to these changes in a rapid manner.
Ishari, how are you? How is Sri Lanka Telecom, tackling and using agile approaches? You have customers who are individuals like me, and also large corporates. I'm sure, like IFS as well. How are you all using agile methodologies?
Yes, Imran. Now, from a telco perspective, definitely telcos are expected to embrace technology faster than anybody else, because we are the enablers of all of the other companies as well as the individuals like you spoke about. So all of these new technologies that have come up, like the 5G, the cloudification, IoT, and Rumesh spoke about AI as well. So unless otherwise we embrace those technologies and we support the enablement of the technologies for other companies, definitely, we'll lose out in the competition. So we have to be the first to market, first to come up with solutions for the customers. So in order to embrace technology and also to keep up with these rapidly changing technologies, obviously, though the telcos were typically, they were very bureaucratic, lethargic organization in one sense, we need to be agile, nimble, and respond to these technological changes in a rapid manner. And we have to be, time to market should improve. So agile obviously comes into play when we want to introduce new products, services in a timely manner to the customers, to cater to the customers' changing needs, and also satisfying the customers, understanding their needs, wants, pain points. Agile obviously help us do that in a better way, because we get feedback and all that. And also under these turmoil economic conditions, CapEx investments have been drained down.
Absolutely.
So we need to look at ways and means of optimizing our investments, and also take less risks, as well as look at new business models and new business avenues of bringing up new solutions to the market. So in that sense also, since agile is an iterative process, you can start small and then introduce as and when you go on with these new services, products, and so on. So agile obviously help us do that also, where we can mitigate risks as well as optimize our investments.
Excellent. I think we've set a very nice stage now. We need to get into specifics, and I'm going to start with you, Rumesh. What practical agile strategies can organizations utilize in a very volatile world?
Again, Imran, now if you look at agile is something that sometimes is murdered in a way. It's misused a lot. People think agile is a process, but actually agile is a mindset. It's a way of working. It's a way of thinking. It's a way of looking at work that you do. And Ishari actually brought a very good point. If you take any organization, an organization is a tech company or a tech-enabled company. SLT, a good example, a tech-enabled company. So the telco products even that are being developed needs to be technology-driven, technology-enabled. And it does not mean that only the product development needs to be tech-enabled. Even, marketing, even finance, even sales, even procurement needs to be agile, right? This agile way of working, agile way of thinking needs to be there in all these departments, all these functions. Now, if you actually look at some agile strategies, you mentioned about agile strategies. Agility, again, should be there from top to bottom. The top management also needs to be agile. The middle management also needs to be agile. Even the lower level staff on a day-to-day basis, they also need to be agile. Flexible and nimble. I love those words, flexible and nimble, not be robust. So if you actually look at it, it's all about doing work, planning work, organizing work, breaking down work into smaller pieces, and then ordering the work, prioritizing the work, then allocating the work to people, getting them to do the work, tracking the progress of work, and then finally delivering the value, right? If you actually look at it, it's all about work management. Agility is all about work management. So these agile strategies of limiting the number of work items that someone is working on at a particular point in time, not going for multitasking, but single tasking. Focus on something, getting it done. Focus on the most important items, priority items. So certain prioritization strategies, prioritization techniques. And then certain strategies in terms of visualizing work and visualizing the progress of work. And then making blockers, making impediments transparent, so that the right people can take action at the right time, at the right level. And this needs to happen right across the company. So long story short, agility is for everyone. These agile strategies, agile ways of working, reimagining the way you're working is actually for everyone.
Interesting. Ishari, I'm going to come to you, and I'm going to take a segue from what Rumesh said. He used some words: mindset, top to bottom. Agile is about work management. All of these things are done by people. All of these things are done by teams. How can leaders, because Rumesh was talking about the tone has to be set at the top, right? How can leaders cultivate a team culture that drives innovation, right? And adaptability amidst all these changes that are happening around us?
Yeah, I think what Rumesh said is also, I think, very correct. So leadership is, I would say, the pivotal point if you want to implement agile in an organization. It should drive from top to bottom, as correctly pointed out by Rumesh. So leaders, first of all, obviously have to set the strategy and the direction and aligning with the organizational objectives, the goals that an organization would want to achieve. So that direction has to be set by leaders, because whatever you do within the organization finally should boil down to the fact that this is what we want to achieve at the end of the day. It could be in a year or a 3-year plan or whatever. So that setting the vision, goals and objectives is, I think, the top priority of the leaders, as well as communicating that across the organization up to the bottom level, because every person should know what is expected out of them and how their work will be tied back to the organizational, achieving the organizational objectives is something that they need to ensure. And also they need to set example, because agile is all about being flexible, being adaptable to whatever the changes happening in the environment, and attuning yourself to work in a flexible manner. So you need to set and lead by example. You need to say that you're you can embrace change and you can become a change agent. So then the bottom players will obviously look up to these leadership, and they will also adapt themselves to work in such a manner. And also one of the critical issues that we face in our organization is, like, we are a 150 plus year old company. So we have been having these bureaucratic structures, very hierarchical. There's this chain of command and all that, and the red tape. So agile obviously help us to break away from that. So as leaders, obviously they need to inculcate a culture that you foster collaboration, and you create an environment where people can work together, share their ideas in an open way, and have that effort in a collaborative manner, so that you can become problem solving, as well as you need to encourage safe to fail culture as well, because obviously you should not only celebrate success stories. There could be failures, but you need to accept them, understand and learn from those mistakes, and that safe to fail space has to be created in an environment. So those are, like, I would say, the good ingredients leaders should have in order to foster an agile mindset and a culture within the organization.
Thank you.
Imran,
yes,
if I may add,
yes.
Gone are the days where you can actually plan for a very long time, strategize for 2-3 years ahead. So leaders also need to be agile in terms of their planning and goal setting and visioning, road mapping as well. So again, volatile world, uncertain world, things are changing. Good example is when COVID hit. Organizations which were not online had to go online within 1 week, or they perished. So the leadership now will need to be able to quickly inspect and adapt and see, okay, where are we heading now? Where are we heading next? And so on. So your objectives and key results also need to be flexible and nimble enough to drive that direction, the path that the organization wants to take. Another aspect of it is the leaders can't be measuring the progress with traditional metrics and measurements. So, I mean, the traditional numbers, looking at financial figures and saying, okay, now this is what we're going to do, that will not work in today's world, right? So even the leadership now will need to think about how are we going to look at our progress, the intention, and where we have gone, where we have achieved, what we have achieved and all. Direction setting and strategizing will now need to take a completely different approach to what actually worked in the past.
Interesting. I'm hearing this word leadership a lot, so it must be important in the whole agile process, because y'all are the practitioners. So we are looking from outside. I want to come to IFS in particular, right? You're a large company. You all deal with other large companies, but you still want innovation and you want to drive innovation. We heard from Ishari about how a 150-year-old company is doing it. But they have different types of clients. But you deal primarily with larger clients, right? Agile leadership in an organization that considers itself agile, deal with this large-scale product development and also drive innovation at the same time.
It's an interesting challenge. So Ishari mentioned things like alignment and communicating the vision, and also fail-safe environments and so on. So those are the key things. So mainly when we are talking about large-scale development, we are talking about a large number of teams. It could be a dozen of teams. It could be 100 teams. At IFS, we have 100 plus agile teams developing a product. So that situation, a key thing is the alignment. All teams has to work towards one direction, has to be aligned. At the same time, to foster innovation, we need to make these teams empowered and give them autonomy. And you may find that alignment and autonomy being the two ends of the same scale, and how can you achieve both? But the interesting thing is, those are not in the same scale. These are two different scales. Let me explain. So if you take autonomy, a low autonomy and low alignment environment, right? What happens there is micromanagement. Leaders tell instructor everything what to do, right? Teams just follow orders. And think about a low autonomy and high alignment environment. What happens there is actually leaders are communicating the vision, the purpose, and also telling the teams how to do. But when the teams are told how to do, that doesn't foster innovation, right? That's not what we want. And think about an environment where autonomy is high, alignment is low. Teams go in all directions, run in all directions, and leaders are just helpless, right? What we need is a high alignment, high autonomic culture. So in order for us to get there, we need leaders who are good at communicating the vision, communicating the purpose, and at the same time, build this fail-safe environment for the teams so that they can experiment, they can try different ways and find the best solutions. Because we hire the smartest people we can afford to, and we should let them thrive by building that fail-safe environment. So that is the type of leadership we need when we are doing large-scale development.
I think it's correct. Now, since we have been practicing agile predominantly in the software industry, you all would be having more matured systems. But when it comes to us, we have just started it and aligning them, giving people the freedom to experiment and all that. We have just started them. Like we have our R&D team very newly built, and innovations are happening there where we let them experiment. So those are kind of like new concepts to us, which we have not practiced from a telco perspective, but
right.
Since every company, as Rumesh mentioned, is going to be IT, softwareization is something that is predominantly prevalent in every company, be it telco, finance, anything for that matter. So now only we have started kind of like using these concepts and trying to practice them internally within our organization.
Interesting point there. Actually, the maturity. When we say autonomy, I mean, that is something you don't achieve overnight. So to exercise a certain degree of autonomy, you have to have the certain level of maturity as well. So the job of the leaders should be to take their team in that journey and keep on coaching them and building the fail-safe environment and take them there. So autonomy is not what you just happen automatically overnight. So you build the alignment and then you take your team towards the high levels of autonomy through maturity.
Rumesh, I'm going to put you on the spot because, IFS, Sri Lanka Telecom, and many of your clients are not going on this journey alone. They are counting on a partner, and that's Business Agility TuneUp, to be part of this journey. How does your organization, Business Agility TuneUp, work to rewire, the leadership of the organizations that you work with, help them restructure the nature of their organizational structures or even systems and processes to kind of guide them on this agile journey?
I'll start with the word journey that you just mentioned. Exactly correct. It's a journey. And since we talked about leadership earlier, I'll link with leadership as well. First of all, leadership is not something that you can delegate. Leaders need to be engulfed and leaders need to be involved in that particular journey itself that the organization is taking. So that's the first thing that we do as Business Agility Tune-Up. We get the leadership involved and getting them understand how the organization is wired at the moment. So we basically do a sort of a value stream mapping exercise initially itself. Ultimately, it's all about delivering value to the customer. Right? The customer is the consumer of the value that the organization generates, IT company or non-IT company. But this value flows as a stream. But there can be instances where the value gets stifled somewhere. There will be impediments, there will be blockers, there will be places where it slows down, value delivery slows down. So the first thing that we do is we engage with the leaders and do this value stream mapping exercises, map out the entire organization, the main value streams that they want to focus on in a change initiative or an engagement. Once that value stream mapping is done, we can directly identify what are the cycle times, what are the lead times, what sort of throughput are we getting, where are the delays happening, where are the waiting happening, where do we need to really address. That will actually help us determine the future value stream, the future state of the value stream. And sitting with the leaders, we can determine the objectives and key results for each of these value streams. Okay, 3 months down the line, where do we need to be? 6 months down the line, where do we need to be? Then comes the middle management level and the team level, right? Once we set the stage right, once we set the platform right at the strategic level, at the teams level, it's all about identifying initiatives that will actually help us satisfy those overall objectives of the value stream. Then comes the team setup, setting up the teams, aligning them to the value streams, and then setting the rhythm for the teams, rhythm at which they are going to work, and then setting up their tracking boards, like I said earlier, right at the start. It's all about work tracking. So work is done to achieve those initiatives and objectives. So creating those visualizations, identifying the teams that needs to be put together to achieve those objectives, tracking the progress of work, breaking the work down, all those aspects that I mentioned earlier will come into the picture now, right? Nilantha mentioned something interesting, coaching and mentoring. That's again a place where we get involved in, however much training you do, however much consultation we provide, there will need to be some sort of hand holding that happens. So we at Business Agility Tune-Up, we are basically facilitators, or we are co-pilots. We facilitate the change at the top level, the leadership level, as well as we facilitate the change at the teams level. So on an ongoing basis, hand-holding, coaching them, checking how they are doing at the moment, what is their maturity at the moment, and what are the challenges at that ground level at this point in time, and then addressing that. So basically having coaching conversations with the key roles at team level, as well as having coaching conversations at that top level. So it needs to be an ongoing thing. It can't be an overnight shift in the mindset. Shifting of the mindset actually takes time. So we are basically looking at a journey, 6-month, 1-year journeys that we take.
Interesting. Ishari, Rumesh outlined the process, how they get involved. But I know companies are always battling this duality, which is how do I pursue innovation while at the same time providing operational stability? Now, what happens with a lot of organizations, particularly one that is about 150 years old, which is considered a utility, so very important that there is really no breakdowns of services, right? How does Agile help you balance these two?
So innovation, I think, as Nilantha also mentioned, you have to have that free mindset. You need to allow people to do experiments, and that's a different environment altogether. And the people who are innovating should have that, flexibility to do that. So in one sense, we adopt agile practices in our innovative efforts, and we do this internally as well as we do collaborations with academia also to support our innovation process. So we have a separate setup established in our company for research and development, and the way they operate is entirely different. But when it comes to the operational stability, the day-to-day business as usual, that's where we are trying to bring in agile practices. So like Rumesh mentioned, we have also identified some of these key value chains. So we are taking a kind of a start small and then scale up kind of an approach there, because we don't want to go on a big bang approach, because we are a very big company with a lot of employees, 6,000 plus employees. So it's not easy to, navigate the way that we have been working for a very long period of time. So it's like a start small approach that we have adopted, where we have looked at about 3 key value chains, customer facing value chains, which add value to the customer as well as to our top line, and as well as to the bottom line to optimize the costs and all that. So and then what we have done was, like, we have identified some of the champions in these who are engaged and working in these value streams, and then we are actually taking them through this agile mindset change process, which is through a blended learning approach that we're trying to experiment, where we teach them, we take them through the agile principles, fundamentals, the course, as well as we are also getting them to practically implement that in their work environment. So it's like a parallel kind of engagement that we're trying to build in within the company. And like Rumesh said, there'll be some hand holding from the consultants also to support us implement it in the right way and sustain that, as well as from an operational stability point of view, we are looking at breaking down the work, prioritizing the work, and also setting up the targets for the operational excellence, that what we want to achieve in terms of KPIs and all that, and monitoring them, visualizing them in dashboards to see where we are, what has gone wrong, and what are the challenges, where the bottlenecks are, and all that. So that's kind of like the approach that we are taking. So it's like a two-way thing. Like for innovation, we are giving them the freedom, flexibility to work in a very free mind and apply agile principles, as well as from an operational stability perspective, we are tightly looking at the work and breaking them down and having that efficiency achieved on some of the key value streams.
Interesting. Thank you so much.
Imran, if I may
please.
add, right? Ishari mentioned some important things about the shift in the mindset. Lots of organizations think when they say agile, let's use a tool. We can use a visualization tool. We can use a tracking tool. There are lots of tools available. Things like Jira and all these tools are available. People think, organizations think, okay, let's implement Jira via agile. It doesn't work like that. So I think, Ishari, when you talked about all these things, you didn't mention anything about tools, which I love a lot. I mean, agility is all about getting this mindset right, getting the people to have this shift in their mindset, the way they are thinking about work and all. That takes time. And that will get manifested, that will get visual to the outside world through the tool. That's perfectly fine. But master those values and the principles and the mindset first. I think that's something that Ishari also highlighted.
Question to you, Nilantha. Mindset. How does IFS, facilitate this mindset change in your teams that practice agile?
So it's mindset change is a continuous thing, right? So we are always dealing with change, and it's up to leaders to build the culture. Mindset is a very important part of the culture. So it's through coaching, and it's through everything we do based on our values. So mindset is built on our values and work in the talk. And being an example, and also putting more emphasis on coaching is key to build the mindset, actually.
Final question to all of you, another open question. What is the future of agile? What is the future of agile methodologies? Where do you see it going in the next decade and beyond?
Organizations are going beyond agile frameworks. So Imran, there are lots of agile frameworks available in the world. Agile started somewhere in 2000. That's when agile came into being in the IT industry. And since then, more than 40-50 frameworks have come into the picture at team level as well as at organization level. Is Scrum and Kanban, all these ways of working. Organizations are now shifting away a little bit from these frameworks, and organizations are looking at a sort of a model or a framework that is suitable for them, which is correct, right? So each organization is unique. Their teams are unique, their culture is unique, their individuals are unique, and their domain is unique. The challenges that they face are also unique. So the frameworks, the models should be suitable for them. So when we intervene as business agility tune-up also, what we focus is also now on these fundamentals, the practices, and that mindset shift that needs to happen. People being able to work in a collaborative environment, people being able to work in a team environment, how to facilitate your meetings better, for example. Right now, how many times do we go for a meeting? We set up a 1 hour meeting. We walk out of the meeting maybe 2 hours later. We had 5 agenda items to discuss, but we discuss only 2. 2 hours later, we walk out. Maybe the problem is facilitation, right? So we focus on these sort of things: facilitation, leadership, negotiation, conflict resolution, and then visualization, transparency in terms of your progress and blockers and so on. That's where we focus on more, and that's where organizations also focus on more. Go beyond frameworks, and that has actually reflected even in our competency development, consulting and coaching services that we offer also, Imran. We do offer competency development services. We do training. In simple terms, we do training targeting professional certifications, corporate training. Yes, there's a demand for certifications from Scrum Alliance, IIBA, PMI, Management 3.0. There is this urge to get people certified. But more than that, organizations are now reaching out to us saying, hey, come and study what we are doing. Try to understand where we are heading, what we are doing. See the unique challenges that we are facing and take us through a journey. Handhold us and take us through this journey. That will involve some consultation, that will involve coaching. Like what Nilantha said, it's a lot of coaching that needs to happen. Again, coaching is something that is misunderstood a lot. Coaching is understanding where the individual or the team is at the moment, and getting that individual or the team figure out where they need to be and how do they get there. So that requires a certain conversation that needs to happen. That's where we get involved right now. So agility also is shifting. The agile mindset is also shifting.
Ishari, what is the future of agile, and where is your journey on that continuum?
So I think to add to what Rumesh said, so I even in the context of mindset change, how we practice, how we use, to what context we use agile practices, it's something that is very true, like, and it has to be applied to a telco perspective if you're talking about the telecommunication industry. So beyond that, even in our case, since we deal with a lot of technology as well as the networks and all that, so we go something beyond the people aspect, and we talk about the agility of our network, how scalable it is, how agile it is to provide services to the customers, add on new services and bring in new technology. So we look at the agility of our network as well as the agility of our IT systems, for example, like how we can evolve with the changes happening in the technology domain. So that's something to add to what Rumesh said. So all that is true, and that has to be practiced, and that's where it's going to be in the future, even from a telco perspective. But we go beyond that from a people aspect. We also talk about the network agility, IT system agility, because when COVID struck, we were able to respond to that change and enable each and every company, individual, because we had that agility, flexibility within our networks. Our systems were capable of delivering the services, like, for example, even the call centers, which was physically located in one location, we straight away moved them to a work from home environment where anybody was able to pick the complaint from whatever the location that they were in. So that type of agility should be there, especially from a telco perspective. Otherwise, I don't think we would be able to sustain the future changes, the technological evolutions which are happening in the market.
I think what Ishari is talking about is service agility.
Correct.
Even at our hospitals, even at our banks, even at our educational institute, even in our government institutions, they also need to be agile. Service agility needs to be there. I think very important point.
Interesting. Nilantha, what is the future agile for you?
To me, agile is a very umbrella term, right? Agile is, to me, it's a set of values. So it is not a process, it's not a practice. There are a lot of practices within the umbrella of agile, right? Design thinking, DevSecOps, and you name it. When the generative AI comes, it comes with a lot of new practices, ethical and legal aspects around this, and we have to develop new practices. But the core values behind agile is things like individuals and interactions over processes and tools. As Rumesh said, it's not a tool, it's not a process, but there are core values within our agile we have to preserve and we need to build upon. And now we see more and more organizations doing their own implementation of agile rather than adapting a established framework, because things change and needs change. The culture of organization, the organization structure, the nature of the business, nature of the product development they are doing differs from organization to organization. So they need their version of agile, but based on core values agile preaches. I think that core values going to be relevant for times to come, as long as we have to deal with these uncertainties, volatility, and so on. I think these values stay relevant.
Rumesh, Ishari, and Nilantha, thank you for your time. It's been a fascinating chat about working in an agile manner, and I hope everyone tuning in got something really valuable from it. Thank you.
Thank you,
very much.
Imran.
Thank you, Rumesh.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.